The Indiana Fever take down the Sparks as Caitlin Clark is back on demon time in the paint, receives her first tech. And fun fact, for the first time in her career, Caitlin Clark actually beats the team that Kate Martin is on. But there is a lot more to go over, so...
Caitlin Clark just picked up her first technical foul of the season in Game 2. And somehow that's not even the biggest storyline from this Fever-Sparks matchup. There's a Kate Martin reunion, an Aaliyah Boston foul-out that exposed a roster problem, and a defensive identity crisis the coaching staff promised would be fixed. Let's break down what actually happened in Los Angeles.
I haven't been super impressed with the Sparks. I didn't exactly know how everyone was going to fit in, but I also thought that this could be like quite the shootout. And there were a lot of crash outs about the previous game where the Indiana Fever did get beat by the Dallas Wings by just one bucket. They all scored over 100 points. That was basically a shootout. The defense was definitely lacking in the last game, so that was one thing that I was paying attention to.
Coming off that 102-100 loss to Dallas, where both teams cracked triple digits, the question heading into LA was simple. Was the Fever defense a one-game problem or a structural one? Stephanie White spent the entire training camp preaching defense. Players talked about it in every preseason interview. So when the Sparks shot just 13% from three and turned the ball over 19 times, we needed to ask, was that Indiana's defense, or was that LA imploding?
And on the very next play, gets a steal.
And Clark with a steal. Showing off the handle. Back the other way. Caitlin Clark for two more.
But you know, the Sparks were just shooting like horrendously. It was like brick after brick, then airball. Kelsey Plum airballs it.
And this is everything.
That sequence right there tells you who Caitlin Clark is in year 2. She gets picked at the top of the key, turns it over, and on the very next possession she's stealing the ball back and finishing through contact. The maturity jump is real. She finished 9 for 17 from the field, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block. The only number that hurts, 1 for 7 from 3. That's the same shooting slump that plagued her late last season when her groin injury was clearly limiting her lift on jumpers.
I mean, Cameron Brink stuffed Caitlin in the beginning of the game, afterwards saying, "Get that ish out of here." But Cameron Brink, I think, did have a bit of a point to prove herself. As in the last post-game interview, Lynn Roberts, the coach, did talk about wanting to see more from Cameron Brink after Cam fouled, I think, what was it, like 4 or 5 times in 8 minutes? Something like insane. Which, you know, Cameron Brink does foul a lot. But in 19 minutes, she did come away with 11 points, and how many blocks did she?
Cameron Brink showed up with a chip on her shoulder tonight, and you have to wonder if that was personal. After Coach Lynn Roberts publicly called her out in the postgame, following her last performance, where she picked up multiple fouls in just 8 minutes, Brink responded with 11 points, 3 blocks, 5 rebounds, and a steal in 19 minutes. She also rejected Caitlin Clark at the rim, and made sure everyone heard about it afterward. This is what an accountability moment looks like in real time. But here's where the matchup got concerning for Indiana. When Aaliyah Boston fouled out late in the 4th, the Fever had no answer at the 5. None. The Sparks went on a furious run that turned a comfortable margin into an edge-of-your-seat finish. And that's a roster construction problem nobody wants to talk about yet.
And in her post-game interview, she did talk about the officiating and she did talk about the tech.
Yeah, I mean, the refs were calling it, and like I told you earlier today, I appreciate that. I think I deserve the technical they gave me. Obviously, they called a lot of fouls tonight, but it's going to even out, so you got to give them credit. They're doing the right thing, and
Listen to that response carefully. Clark is diplomatic, almost defensive of the officiating crew. 25 fouls called on the Sparks, 19 on the Fever. Erica Wheeler was so frustrated by the whistle that she reportedly asked aloud, "How am I supposed to defend her?" 3 Wheeler fouls on Clark inside of 30 seconds. And here's the detail nobody's connecting. The referee Clark got into it with for that technical, she had a documented history with this same official last season. This wasn't a random eruption. This was unfinished business. And the fact that Clark received a tech in just her 2nd game of the season, while she's also drawing fouls at a higher rate than ever before, tells you the league office has a brewing officiating storyline they cannot ignore.
Indiana Fever. But if you think that's a lot, just wait, because the Sparks had 19 turnovers. I mean, the Sparks just played bad. But I do want to give some credit to Kelsey Plum, who did put down the game high of 25 points. She had 4 assists, a rebound, a steal, but listen, Kelsey Plum also had 5 turnovers. Now, Raven Johnson is definitely still getting her sea legs. She missed a wide open layup and immediately after fouls Kelsey Plum.
Kelsey Plum dropped a game-high 25 points with 4 assists, but she also coughed up 5 turnovers and airballed an open 3. That's the Sparks in microcosm right now. Star-level talent paired with stretches of basketball that look like a preseason scrimmage. Their 13% three-point clip is not sustainable. But neither is asking Plum to be everything every night. The roster fit issues this team has are real, and tonight Indiana was the beneficiary. The Fever's offense, meanwhile, was efficient at 49% shooting, but they also turned it over 16 times. Kelsey Mitchell saved the perimeter shooting with 23 points on 3 of 9 from deep. Without her, this game looks very different. The bench production behind the starters remains the open question that could define Indiana's ceiling.
Caitlin looked good in so many ways in this game. I mean, the way that she was running the offense and driving to the basket, like, with no fear. She even garnered a foul, which, again, I want Caitlin to do more often. She's not egregious with it. She is no SGA. She is no Breanna Stewart. She is no Paige. She is no Sabrina. Those players all jump into their jump shots, and Caitlin did do that here. But man, people were so pissed about that, and they even challenged the call. Lynn Roberts lost the challenge though, but I still want to see that CC logo bomb back. And
that foul Clark drew is exactly the type of play the league has been waiting for her to add to her game. She jumped into a defender on the shot, drew the contact, and got the whistle. This is the bag she watched Sabrina Ionescu, Breanna Stewart, and Paige Buchers use against her all of last season, while she absorbed the contact and got nothing. And the Sparks challenged that call because they know exactly what it means if Clark starts living at the free throw line. They lost the challenge. Now here is what this game actually told us. The Indiana Fever are a team in transition. Not in a rebuild sense, in an identity sense. Stephanie White inherited a roster built around Caitlin Clark's pick-and-roll wizardry with Aaliyah Boston. Tonight we saw maybe 4 legitimate pick-and-roll sets the entire game. The action that defined this franchise last season is being deliberately de-emphasized in favor of more motion, more cutting, more off-ball action. And the results so far are mixed. The offense looks creative. The defense, the supposed point of emphasis all summer, has allowed 2 of the league's most variable offenses to combine for over 200 points across 2 games. The Aaliyah Boston situation deserves a deeper conversation. 23 minutes, 4 points. All 4 came at the free throw line. She fouled out late. This is not Aaliyah Boston basketball. She's still on a minutes restriction, which the team has not been transparent about, and her offensive role has clearly shrunk in this new system. When your former all-star starting center becomes a defensive specialist who fouls out and provides minimal offensive value, you have to ask whether this scheme is actually optimizing the talent on the roster, or whether the front office is forcing a square peg into a round hole. Mabry is still missing wide-open layups. The interior finishing has been an issue for 2 straight games now. Maisha Hines-Allen had a quietly productive 11 minutes doing the dirty work that does not show up in the box score. But if you're depending on her to be a meaningful contributor, the fit concerns from her time in Minnesota are still real. Lexi Hull, who is now collecting an $800,000 salary, scored 1 point in 13 minutes. That contract was a bet on her being a rotation player. So far, she's been a defensive specialist with a turnover. The leash will be longer than the production warrants, but the patience inside that organization is not infinite. Sophie Cunningham, on the other hand, looked the part of an unofficial leader. 12 points, 7 rebounds, an assist, a steal, and the kind of veteran organization on the floor that this team did not have last season. When she's hitting open looks and corralling the rotation, the Fever are a much more dangerous team. And Ty Harris in 16 minutes off the bench, 7 points, 3 assists, 1 rebound, gave them legitimate minutes from the backup point guard spot. But the storyline that nobody is leaning into yet is Kate Martin. She was waived by the Golden State Valkyries, which broke her publicly. She just signed with the Sparks on a developmental contract. She didn't suit up tonight because she's still in the process of getting integrated. But the hug between her and Clark after the final buzzer was the kind of moment that reminds you these are real friendships, not just teammates. And here's the strange historical footnote. Every time Caitlin Clark has faced a team Kate Martin was officially on, the Fever lost. Every single time. Last season against the Aces, this season against the Valkyries. Tonight broke that streak, technically, even though Kate was inactive. Raven Johnson is still finding her sea legs. 5 minutes, 2 assists, a rebound, but also a missed layup followed immediately by a foul on Kelsey Plum. The flop from Plum was theatrical, sure, but the contact was there. The growing pains are normal for a rookie point guard. The bigger concern is Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, who has now been a DNP coach's decision in both games. That's a roster spot that needs to start producing, or the front office needs to acknowledge it was a mistake. Here's where I land on this Fever team after 2 games. The talent is championship caliber. The system is a work in progress. Stephanie White is asking this group to play a brand of basketball that prioritizes defense and ball movement over the heliocentric pick-and-roll offense that defined them under Christie's sides. That's a longer adjustment than most fans are willing to accept in May. But the bones of something special are there. Clark looks more comfortable in the paint than she has at any point in her professional career. Mitchell is shooting the cover off the ball. Cunningham is providing veteran stability. The defense is improving game over game. The real test comes when Indiana faces a team that doesn't shoot 13% from 3. The next stretch of the schedule is going to tell us whether this defense is legitimately better, or whether Los Angeles just had one of the worst shooting nights of their season, and whether the lack of a backup center behind Aaliyah Boston is a structural flaw the front office failed to address, or a minor issue that gets fixed in the buyout market. What do you think? Is the de-emphasis of the pick and roll a smart long-term move, or are the Fever leaving easy offense on the table? Should White be playing Aaliyah Boston more minutes despite the restriction? And did Caitlin Clark deserve that technical foul, or was that one official continuing a personal vendetta from last season? Drop your takes in the comments. Hit the like button if this breakdown helped you see the game differently. Subscribe for the next Fever review. I'll see you for the next one.